After the storm, there's a chance for the dust to settle. And tears of peace.
Hi everybody, as I said, this is the second part of a two-part series on relationships. In the first part, if you've not listened to it, I do encourage you to go and listen to it. And the first part was about why relationships are hard. Now, in this second part, I'm going to go into what we really are looking for in a relationship. And I'm going to do this by bringing us to a very familiar story. I think for many of us, especially those of us who were raised in a Western culture, we would have heard of the story of Cinderella. And even if you haven't been raised in the Western culture, I think my understanding is that similar themes are found right across the world in all the different types of fairy stories or fairy tales that we might have heard growing up, and maybe still to this day probably see in movies. The same themes keep repeating themselves, but maybe what we might find in movies and as well as in fairy stories, because the true deeper metaphysical meanings within those, encoded within those fairy stories, are often obscured and not, we're not aware of them. So today I'm going to give us the opportunity to have a look into this story of Cinderella. But first I want to share with you a quote from the psychologist Joseph Campbell. You may know that Joseph Campbell was the author of the much read book called The Hero's Journey. And his work actually, which sort of, if you like, culminated in that book, was to look into the various stories that were found in a whole range of cultures throughout the world, picking up the common themes, and that is what the hero's journey is about. Now, here is Joseph Campbell talking about the reason for our existence. And this is what he says. People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances with our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. So that was Joseph Campbell. So being alive, what is that really? It's actually, believe it or not, being alive is being in love, simply because love is our natural state. There is no other time or instance or state when we feel more alive than when we are in love. Would you agree? Sadly, the experience of being in love is so rare, and this is the key reason why. That is, we are afraid to fall in love. Oh, I know, we're all saying, no, that's not true, we want to fall in love, we want to be in love. We desire it so desperately because it really is the only way we can feel truly alive. And yes, we say we want it, but it doesn't stop us from being afraid of being in love. And I'm going to explain why. You see, even when we do allow ourselves to fall headlong into love, our learned fears, our learned insecurities, our neediness and dependencies clash with our heart, hastily hauling us back into, I'm using air quotes here, reality. So, what do? We settle for something less. Something that is less likely to take us teetering on the heady, intoxicating edge of being rapturously and lustfully alive. Something that might give us a little bit of a thrill, but not so much that we lose our senses, lose our head, our rationale, our reasoning. So we allow ourselves to, again I'm using air quotes, to fall in love once our peripheral reconnaissance, that which is directed by the ego, has established that it is safe for us to fall a little bit in love. You see, the conditioned mind of the ego, working predominantly in the subconscious world, it wastes no time collecting sufficient information about the person under scrutiny, the person that we are subconsciously measuring up. Is he my type? Will she remain faithful? Can I trust him? Is he financially independent, or is she really after my money? Is what I see what I will really get? What secrets is he keeping? What skeletons are in her closet? Will her friends or her family like me? How many partners has she previously had? Does she have any children? What baggage is she coming with? What is her expectation of me? Will I be able to fulfill his expectations? Do I really want to? Will he fulfill my expectations? Is she really right for me? Are you familiar with these kinds of questions? Do they ring a bell? Okay. So this reconnaissance happens so quickly and so automatically. We're hardly aware that it's happening. But we are, and you can bet on this, we are surely impacted and influenced by it. And in the meantime, what is essentially true and good is ignored or dismissed and relegated to the backroom of irrelevant and unrealistic and even threatening, rather like Cinderella. And let me put it to you that this is what the story of Cinderella is about beneath the facade of the personalized and personified theatre. You see, the wicked sisters and their mother are, of course, the disempowering mental and emotional states that we have been habituated into. The fact that they are step-sisters and stepmother is a reflection of their not natural but acquired status, which is exactly what our conditioned mind is, which is what our ego is. The absence of Cinderella's natural mother reflects the absence of our innate, naturally good, naturally free, powerful, and unconditioned state of mind, which is obscured by the unnatural, disempowering, conditioned state of mind. And in terms of the actual house that Cinderella lived in, the main public areas of the house where guests are entertained and discussions are held, that is the realm of the conditioned mind. While the room to which Cinderella is confined is the unconditioned, natural mind. But even though this natural mind is mostly obscured It is never forgotten and never absent. And this is what Cinderella holds as her consciousness. So this is a story of that aspect of ourselves, that obscured memory of who we truly are, that is ever present and ever yearning to be fully realized, to be fully alive. And this is what happens when Cinderella meets her Prince Charming and is united with him. The realization of her, of our true wholeness and completeness, aliveness. Cinderella's yearnings and her imagination manifest the fairy godmother and the subsequent meeting with her prince. However, there is a brief detour in this inevitable reunion. Cinderella loses her shoe before she is temporarily returned to a physical and spiritual inner room, the back room. So how does this relate to our return to our unconditioned true nature, to our falling in love? In fact, this is typical for most of us who've been on the path of awakening, of self-realization, of enlightenment. It's what we typically experience when we fall in love. We experience this all too brief, this heady, intoxicating encounter with our true, whole and complete nature. We don't realize that that's what's happening, but that is the feeling, the experience of falling in love, both physically with another person and metaphysically with our true nature. Let me say that again. The experience of falling in love, both physically with another person and metaphysically, which is with our true nature. But, as you may have experienced, we're afraid to believe it, to trust it. It's too good to be true, according to our ego. It's too good to last. Yeah, we have warned ourselves of this many, many times, just as the fairy godmother warns Cinderella. So, what happens? We fulfill our own self-proclaimed prophecy, and we refuse to take the plunge. We refuse to fall in love completely. We hold back. We have our safety net in place. We return to our conditioned mind because that's where we've learned to feel safe. That's what is familiar. That's what feels normal. And as long as our conditioned mind, our ego is in charge, we'd rather the trance of normal than the freedom of natural. But when you are finally ready, when you're finally willing to take that plunge, to put your conditioning, your ego in its rightful place, this rational mind with all its fears and inhibitions and conditions, when you are ready to do that, then you will be reunited forever with your wholeness, your true nature. The greatness and magnificence of your true nature embodied in the person of this prince will find you. In fact, it's never lost you. You have lost sight of it. Your ego has lost sight of it. But it has remained constantly present. And this time you will not be dressed up and propped up by the things you put on, as was Cinderella when she went to the ball. But instead, you'll be stripped down to your bare essential self. The Cinderella who was not outwardly recognized by the prince, but recognized on the strength of her perfect fit. Fascinating, isn't it? So, what is this perfect fit? nothing other than the unconditioned essential self, which is unlike its ill-fitting conditioned sisters, stepsisters. It is the true self coming face to face with itself, recognizing itself. Anything else would clearly not fit, would clearly not be recognized. Falling in love is really about returning to and reuniting with your true, essential, unconditioned nature. You know, if you've ever fallen in love, you will have noticed that the initial moments are unlike anything you have ever experienced. So full, so utterly thrilling, so madly intoxicating. Or it may have been an experience of great stillness, of coming home, of not just a union, but a reunion. Whichever way it turns out for you, this is the experience of your true unconditioned nature, at last free to enjoy itself in every sublime moment, through every intense or intensely still experience. But it almost always doesn't last. Because as I said earlier, you have been habituated into fear, into learned rationalism, reason and reality, into trusting your physical senses and not your inner sense or innocence. I always think of innocence as our inner sense, or our in essence, who and what we are in essence. In essence, we are love. Love is our natural state. Falling in love or being in love is nothing more than and nothing less than experiencing the fullness of our natural state. Let me read to you something that Rumi says. Love asks us to enjoy our life, for nothing good can come of death. Who is alive, I ask? Those who are born of love. Seek us in love itself. Seek love in us ourselves. Sometimes I venerate love, sometimes it venerates me. You see, love and I are one and the same. And so this is why mystics of various religions have been able to experience and write or talk about the rapture of being in love, often describing it in terms of God, which is, after all, what is God? It's that which is whole, complete, and all-encompassing. Let me read to you something that St. John of the Cross said. This was a Christian mystic. O night, thou was my guide. O night, more loving than the rising sun. O night, that joined the lover to the beloved one, transforming each of them into the other. That doesn't give you goosebumps. So, if you're looking for a relationship, a special relationship as A Course in Miracles refers to it, or if you are already in one, understand that what you are truly seeking is the experience of being alive, as Joseph Campbell puts it. Understand also that you're fully alive when you feel whole and complete. And finally, and most importantly, understand that your wholeness and your completeness is your natural state. It is not something that someone can give you or make you, no more than they can take it away from you or unmake you. And within that wholeness and completeness are all the other qualities and attributes that we're so desirous of: togetherness, connectedness, bliss, passion, ecstasy, delight, limitlessness, and yes, aliveness. This is what I believe is what we are most seeking in a relationship, the experience of being alive. To expect someone else to make us feel alive and whole is not only an injustice to the other, it dishonors our true nature. It reflects a state of deficiency that we bring into a relationship rather than a state of wholeness. On the other hand, if we understand that the union with another is a metaphorical union, hinting at the union with our true nature, which is God, which is the experience of being truly alive, then we may be able to relax and enjoy the other, not as the cause of our aliveness or joy, but as a participant or playmate of such aliveness and joy. I want to wish you much love, and may your heart beat with the rhythms of peace.
Hey everybody, I know it's so easy to forget, I do it myself so often, but please, if you did like this video, do hit the like button, do subscribe, do share, and most of all, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much.